Hello, my name is Abigail Howell, and you're just in time to watch me bake some of my world famous, at least village famous, turnip turnovers. I was a little under the weather last week, and Mr. Bates, the pharmacist, gave me some wonderful medication, cured me right up, and I just wanted to say thank you by baking something delicious for him. To make these savory turnip turnovers, you're going to need 2 small or 1 large turnip. You're going to need a couple good sweet carrots, 1 small onion, a nice sharp cheddar. Then for the dough, you're going to need 3 cups of flour. You're going to need some melted lard or butter, and you're going to need some cold water. All right, so the first step, we need to get all of our vegetables peeled and diced or shredded as best we can. Now, when doing carrots, I like when I pick them, I always like to leave the greens on. They stay fresher longer. I'm gonna take those greens off. Gonna put them in my bin for later. Now, when I like to peel my carrots, I know some people just wash them. I'm a peeler, so we're gonna take our knife, scrape away from myself. And you can see it just scrapes all of that skin and peel right off, and it saves the meat of the carrot. Once we have our carrots peeled and shredded, we're going to do the same thing to our other 2 vegetables. You're going to need to dice it, shred it really, really fine. All right, well, after a little bit of work, we have our shredded carrot, shredded turnip, shredded onions, and I've gone ahead and done the same thing to our white cheddar cheese. So we're going to take all of our shredded vegetables, we're going to put them in a pan full of nice hot butter, and we're going to fry them all up together. It's going to be great and make the house smell so good. We're going to let that start to melt. Once that gets good and melted and bubbling, we're going to add our vegetables. I shredded a little extra turnip. We want a lot of good turnip in this. So this isn't frying quite as fast as I want it to, so we need to turn this oven up. Now my oven has eyes. These eyes lift off to expose direct heat. My pan goes straight over top of that, and that's going to cook up a lot faster for us. While this is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start my dough. For the dough, we need 3 cups of flour, well sifted. We need some melted lard, and we need some good cold water. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add just enough melted lard to this and start stirring it until the flour starts to clump together in pea-sized clumps. Now, I wish I could give you measurements, but there are no measurements for this recipe. You add the flour and you slowly add in the lard until it's right. A little bit at a time, keep stirring it, and eventually you'll get pea-sized clumps. All right, so we're not quite there, so I'm going to add a little bit more. All right, that looks just about right. You can see I've got these lovely clumps going on in here. Now I'm going to slowly add my cold water, the colder the better, and stir it until it makes a dough. Again, I wish I could give you measurements, but it'll just look like a dough when we're ready to go. So to make a dough, we want all of the loose flour to be gone. When I squeeze it in my hand, it should squeeze into a tight ball like clay dough. But also it shouldn't be so sticky that it sticks to my hands when I do that. All right, so we've got a nice good consistency. See how it's sticking together but not sticking to my hand? So we're going to clump this into a ball and put it out onto our floured rolling pin so we can start rolling it out. All right, we got a ball. Let's put it on our floured board and let's roll it out. Now you want to make sure you flour your board and you flour your rolling pin, otherwise everything's going to stick. So when you're rolling it out, make sure you roll it good and even. If you have it too thin in one place and too thick in another, it's not going to cook evenly when we fry it. All right, we got it nice rolled out even, and you can see how we've got flaky bits. That's what we want. That's gonna make a nice flaky, crispy crust when we fry it. If you have a circle cutter, like a biscuit cutter that's the right shape, go ahead and use that. I don't have one, so I use a good old standby, a saucer and a knife. You're gonna take the knife and score all the way around it so you end up with a perfect circle of dough. All right, there we go. We have a perfectly round, flaky piece of dough. All right, so you can see it's cooked down real nice. We're gonna go ahead and call this done. Next, we're gonna add our shredded cheese while it's still on the heat. Stir it up and then immediately remove it from the heat. Now that we've got that all nice and cooked and the cheese melting, we're gonna take a big spoonful, put it right in the middle of our dough. Enough to get a good healthy bite, but not so much that we can't fold the dough in half. We're gonna get some water, we're gonna run our finger around the edge and wet it. That way when we fold the dough in half, it's gonna seal. And then we're gonna fold this in half. We're gonna pinch the edges down. I like to use my thumbs. Some people will take a fork and give it little bird feet. Other people can twist it real nice, but I just think a good old thumbprint knows it's homemade. Once we've got that done, we have our beautiful turnover ready to go in the hot oil. I'm gonna go ahead and make more of these. I can usually get 4 out of my dough recipe. You can make as many of these or as few of these as you want. If you need to, just make yourself another batch of dough. To fry it up, we're gonna use a nice deep cast iron skillet. Just like before, I'm gonna put it right on top of the fire so it cooks fast. And then I'm gonna use some rendered lard to fry in. Some people like to use bacon grease. If you wanna be a little healthier, you can use 2 sticks of butter. I just like lard. I think it just has an amazing flavor and it fries really nice and crispy. You know your oil is hot enough to fry in when you drop a little bit of flour and it starts to bubble and fry your flour. We're gonna take our turnover, we're gonna go ahead and drop it in our hot oil, and we're gonna enjoy the smell it makes as it starts to fry. When it's browned on one side, we're gonna very carefully flip it over and let it cook on the other. And that's what we want, a nice golden brown to show that we've got it good and fried. All right, so when it's browned on the other side, we're gonna very carefully take it off the stove. We're gonna put it onto a plate that's got a napkin or a towel on it to soak up any extra grease. And there we go. We have one crispy fried turnip turnover.